Ford is never making the Ford GT ever again, and this is because of the new Mustang GTD. As of now, I'm sure y'all guys have all heard about the new 2025 Mustang GTD that will have 800 plus horsepower and be MSRP'd at around $300K. And a lot of people talk about how these things won't sell because it's just a Mustang, but that is false, and in this video I'll be telling you why. Now, the first thing that I'll debacle is that when people say it's just a Mustang, because if that was a true statement, then the Dodge Demon would not cost almost $250,000 because it's just a Dodge Challenger at the end of the day. And I think people are so blinded that it's based off a Mustang that they're kind of forgetting the complexity of what this Mustang can accomplish. The Mustang GTD is trying to compete with a Porsche 911 GT3 RS, which is at the top of the top when it comes to speed, handling. So being able to compete at a high level like this makes the Ford Mustang so much more of a better car. I think people tend to forget that Ford is a very high competing company. Like, they're not just making the Ford Mustangs and all these other cars to beat its competitors such as Chevy and Dodge. They're shooting for big guns, which is Porsche, Mercedes, and BMW, especially when it comes to handling, weight distribution. Now, another thing I would like to point out is that the high performance Ford Mustangs are actually rare cars. When you go to your local car meets or Cars and Coffee, how often do you see the Hellcats, Corvettes, and Camaros? Pretty often. But the chances of you seeing a Ford GT 500 or Ford GT 350 in any model is very rare. Now, I know this might sound biased because I do own a Ford Mustang, but just realistically, if you were to pull up to a Cars and Coffee and were to see a Dodge Demon versus a track pack Ford GT 500, being real, you would probably look at the Ford GT 500 more because of how different it looks versus the Demon, because the Demon is very, very similar to the Hellcat, which comes in so many different variants of a Hellcat that it kind of washes away its rarity. Now, the second point I would like to make is why they will be replacing the Ford GT with this Ford Mustang GTD. And that is just simply price. Now, think about this. If they're able to build a car that's based off a car that they are already making, they're now saving money that they can now reinvest into this car. So instead of running a separate assembly line to build the Ford GT, now they're able to take this Ford Mustang that's already being built, pull it to the side, and make a Ford Mustang GTD out of this. And that will be able to allow them to put more money into making this car as fast as possible and track ready stock, rather than them having to spend money to make a new chassis, a new body, and a new style for this Ford GT that they release every 10 years. Now, people do like to point out that it's $300K, and while that is a very steep price, you have to understand that you're paying for what you get. One, these cars are not going to be made at mass production, so these are not a mass production car. Two, Ford had only put 800 plus because they haven't reached its full potential, so that lets you know that they're actively testing the car to see how much power can they pull out of this by making different changes and tuning. So they aren't just putting this high price sticker on a car that they're kind of loosely putting together. They're actively testing it to make sure that they can pull as much power out of this, because the ultimate goal of this car is not to just sell, but it's to compete with the 911 GT3 RS. So that's their ultimate mission with this, and that's probably what's leading to such a high price tag, because they're doing so much work into making this a high performance car. Instead of it being just a sports muscle car, this is now a track focused, a track only car. And also, again, it comes with a high rarity. Even though it is a Mustang, the fact that it's a Mustang GTD makes it such a rare car. I feel like if you was to put this beside a 2025 Porsche 911 GT3 or any newer model track car, this will get more attention because of how different it is. And that is one thing that Ford has continuously achieved over and over, is making their cars attain such a high rarity. Look at the value of their Mustangs over time. If you was to want to go pick up a 2001 to 2004 Mustang Terminator, it's going to cost you about $30,000. If you want to pick up the 2012 GT500, that's going to cost you about $60,000. If you were to compare that to the same price as the Camaros of this time and the Corvettes of this time, they're not matching up value for value. And I can guarantee you that this car will be much faster than a Ford GT, yet again, based off that price to make difference. They're able to dump so much more money into making this a very high quality car. And I also don't understand when people make the argument of buying a lower level model of this car and then slapping upgrades and stuff like that to make it match this car. because they say that, but they tend to forget that you can do that to literally any car. You can buy a base model Aventador and upgrade it until it's an SVJ. You can buy a base model 911 and upgrade it until it's a GT3 RS. It's not impossible to do with any car, so I don't understand the argument that you can just do that to attain this car completely different, because it will take you upwards of $100,000 to achieve what this car has. Because one, where are you going to find these magnesium wheels? Those are not cheap. I don't know if people have looked into the price of those, but magnesium and carbon fiber wheels are not cheap. They're about $30,000 to $40,000 just a set. Two, it has a 50-50 weight distribution. So how are you going to make your car attain this weight distribution without trying to literally make this car? Your car will spend half the time in a chop shop. If you were to literally do a price breakdown of buying a car such as the Mustang Dark Horse, make it a 50-50 distribution, and buy magnesium wheels, you will already probably be at the price of this car at MSRP. So I don't understand that argument. All in all, I think that Mustang and Ford made a great decision by making this their new Ford track performance car. I think they should get rid of the Ford GT and allow this to be their new car, because I feel like they can pull more power for less money, which is essentially what you would like. That's what Porsche does. That's what Dodge does. That's what all these high class brand does. And part 4 for my Mustang trade-in will be up soon. I have some special things in tune for you guys. Peace.